understand why data science is such an important field today, right? All those who have joined in a little late, please fill this form. I would appreciate if you do that. I'll be able to give you access to the cloud-based lab, and then we'll be able to do the analysis and do a hands-on along the session. Okay, would appreciate if you do that. All right. Now, how many of you are aware of data science? Quickly, yes, no. Anybody who feels is not aware of data science, who does not know? Anybody who does not know what data science is wants me to explain a bit more about that? Okay, Padmini, no problems. Uh, Fair enough. So when you talk of this field of um, data science as a stream or as a technology or as a field of study. Uh, so let's try and understand more about it. So data science is, as the name implies, it is all about data. It is the science of data. And what really happens in data science, you're trying to do trying to solve business problems, trying to understand the problems that the business or in general anyone is facing, right? So you have a problem, you try and understand what kind of problem you have, and pertaining to the problem that you're facing, you will try and collect data for that. And once you have collected the data, you'll try and apply a lot of statistics on that, right? So statistics plays a key role here. You primarily are finding patterns or insights in data. Okay, now there can be various kinds of problems in data science, right? The kinds of problems could be, say, at the end of the day, machine learning is helping you find patterns or solve a problem which humans either can easily do or cannot do, right? So that there are two extremes to it. One could be, say, a problem like a face recognition problem, right? So if you're trying to recognize my face, uh, probably once you see me here, and next time or your acquaintance, anybody, right? You're seeing them after 10 years, more often than not, you'll be able to recognize the face of that person, right? Based on some kind of a property, right? Even when you're trying to, I mean, even then when they're a small kid, right? He understands who his parents are, or somebody whose acquaintance are, primarily because he understands the face. He knows that thing. So there's a recognition which humans very easily can do, right? If you try and ask the machine to do the same thing, that probably would become a little difficult, right? It's very difficult to code something of that sort. Again, it is some kind of pattern, some kind of features on the basis of which you're saying, okay, this is a person X and the other person is the person Y, right? Again, for us becomes very difficult, right? If you keep 500 Japanese men in front of you, now you start getting confused in those people, right? Because you're not used to that kind of a similar faces. For you, all of them seem similar, right? So again, as humans, we understand certain things, certain kind of problems we are able to do well, and there'll be other sets of problems like you know managing a, say, 1 TB of data, and or even more of that, and then trying to find some kind of a pattern with that, which certainly is not really very feasible for humans to do. So data science, or data science as a field, here you're trying to answer all kind of questions, be it which is easy for human to answer or very difficult for human to answer, and you're making machines to answer those questions. Okay, you're primarily making the machines to answer those questions. And how exactly machines would try and answer that question? As I said, it is all about finding the patterns or insight from your data. And it's all about the pattern recognition. It's a patterns or insights. Everything boils down to what kind of a pattern you see in data, and then using that pattern, can you try and come up with a result which can help you understand more about data science, or solve that business problem. It could be any simple business problem, or as I said, any complex business problem, like face recognition, right? Which is again not a very simple thing to do. So if you have to code for machine to recognize a face, it really would be very difficult to do. Okay. All right. Now, when you're trying to get into data science, there are few checks that you need to do, every one of you, right? And those checks are very, very important. I'll come to those checks also. But before that, let's try and understand, when you talk of data science is an amalgamation or interaction, or intersection of whatever term you might use. It's an intersection of multiple things, right? So if you're trying to get into data science, you need to understand the domain part. You should be somebody who has some kind of problem solving ability, who understands data, who has a bit of coding skills, or if not, can learn it, right? So who understands those technical aspects of it. Then obviously statistics as a subject is something which you should know. So it's a combination of mathematics or statistics, the programming skills, the problem solving ability, the domain knowledge. So it's an intersection of multiple fields, and all of that is required as a data scientist. Okay, it's not that you only know domain and you are good with that. So you will have to know multiple things to succeed as a data scientist. Okay. uh, Now coming back here. All right. Uh, so that is what data science is all about. It's a field where you're trying to predict data. You're trying to within data science you talk of predictive analytics, descriptive analytics, and other stuff. So in general, we have been doing a lot of analysis on data. It's not that data science or machine learning or these things are pretty new. They have been there for many years now, right? I mean, data science has been used for almost say 60, 70, 80 years, and it's been there. Only problem is we really did not had the kind of computing power, the kind of data available, and the need to solve the business problem, right? So as the needs are arising, as we are reaching plateau in terms of the ability that you have in your IT systems. Now we're looking up to newer technologies again. So if you talk of big data, the parallel processing is not something which has come up only now, right? It's been there for quite some time, maybe 20, 25 years. Parallel computing, parallel processing was there. Again, it came into fore when we started actually generating so much data. And again, because of Google, when they came up with that paper, and they started working on that, the big data came into picture, and big data and analytics, the amalgamation is happening, and now we're trying to infer more about the data. Okay. So that in nutshell is about data science. But if you are trying to get into data science, these are the things that you should concern with, right? Your problem solving ability, domain and understanding, technical skills in terms of your quantitative skills, the programming skills, all of that will come handy. And then statistics, a lot of you, again, somebody said that I've done a course in R and SAS. But when you do a course in R and SAS, how much of statistics do you understand is what is going to decide how well do you perform, or do you do as a data scientist. Doing or knowing just the tools is not enough. Okay, knowing tools is obviously important, but that is not enough. To be able to be a good data scientist, you need to understand statistics, understand a bit of mathematics. All that will be required to be able to process data, to be able to work with data. Okay, I hope I've answered this question, what is data science, to quite some extent, right? Now, I'm leaving this slide primarily because we're not really talking about that. Why we're talking about, because of various reasons here, right? Which primarily are discussed here. Now, I'll quickly go to that question that I had. When you're trying to get into this field of data science, what is the most important check that you should do, right? Not because everybody is getting into data science, you should jump into it. Before you get into data science, you can actually do a couple of checks, and those checks are one of the very important checks primarily for a data scientist role. Okay, primarily for a data scientist role, there are a couple of checks that you need to do, and that is, are you somebody who likes numbers? Are you somebody who feels comfortable with data, right? And when I say comfortable with data, comfortable with numbers, so if I give you a very difficult or a complex puzzle to solve, do you have that curiosity to go ahead and try to decipher what is there in that data? Okay. And why that is important, primarily because the more the more you're curious about problem solving, the more entertaining data science as a field would be for you. Because every day when you work with data science, you have a new challenge. A very different set of data would come up, a very different kind of business problem would come up, and you need to go ahead and think about the problem, try and find ways to go deeper into the data and dig some kind of an insight which can help the business improve, right? Or I mean, as I said, it's used across the board, right? Elections being one of the very important things where you say, social media and analytics are playing a very, very key role, right? So governments are being decided on that. So there's so many things which are happening here, and if you're somebody who likes, problem solving, who likes puzzles, who likes numbers, who likes to think logically, analytically, data science could be a wonderful career option. And if you're somebody who's very averse to data, who is not really keen on numbers, who is really you know uh, a little, not really passionate about, or curious about problem solving, I think this might not turn out to be a kind of role, or the job, or the career that you're aspiring for, right? So why I'm trying to give you that is because if you are a round hole, try and get into a round, I mean, if you're a round peg, try and get into a round hole. And if you're a square peg, try and get into a square hole, right? That will be a good match, and you'll be able to do so much more in your career, rather than just because everybody is doing data science, let me also do it, right? So I hope you got the gist of what I wanted to convey there. Now, in terms of skill sets, you need to understand, I've kind of mentioned here, domain is an important part. Uh, Again, the kind of industry you come from, the kind of knowledge that you have, bring when you join a certain industry, or if you're working in certain industry, it will help you understand the process, and have an empathy to the business problem that is there, right? So that is where domain would play a part. If you're not really new to things, not really a lot of experienced person, then you can certainly go back and read a few good white papers on the value chains, the business processes of the industry that you really love, or at least a couple of domains that will give you a lot of edge into understand the business problems, and really solving them better. Then statistics plays a very important role. So you need to understand basic stats, inferential statistics, machine learning, and so on and so forth. So there'll be a lot of things that you need to understand. Then obviously some kind of a tool that you need to know. So when you're trying to become a data scientist, at various junctures as a data scientist, you would need different tools, right? Primary tool is obviously Excel. Excel is something which is expected from a data scientist from day one, right? You should know Excel, and not just very basics, at least intermediate level of Excel, so that you can easily and quickly do some kind of manipulation with data if needed. Generally, you don't want to do with Excel. That is why you're moving on to other tools. But Excel knowledge is always helpful and handy to explain to others that you're comfortable with data. So many times, just to show your comfort with data, you can talk about Excel. That's one thing. Second thing would be okay, and why again, if you know Excel and if you've done some kind of analysis on Excel again, you can kind of show that I've been doing some kind of analysis on Excel, I've been doing XYZ stuff, and that can add to your profile, saying that you're coming from the similar background, you're not really out of the place. So in terms of your job assistance, that can be a good thing. Second thing would be at least one tool to be able to model the data, right? Data modeling is the key aspect of a data scientist role, where machine learning I hope many of you attended, some of you at least attended the session. So you would have understood about what machine learning is, how it is used. So at the end of the day, you're trying to model the data and find out patterns from it. Some of you who have not really attended the session can certainly go back and see the recordings. Or there's another session of machine learning coming up next Tuesday. You can certainly attend that. Okay, so I was talking about this skill set uh, in terms of the in terms of the uh, tools, right? So you need to know at least one tool to model the data. Now that tool could be R, could be SAS, could be Python. And if you're trying to get into data science and you're looking for a lot of opportunities, further down, I would suggest go for R and Python. Try and learn both the tools. Start with one tool, learn both the tools, and obviously statistics and ML and everything, right? So if you're good with both the tools, I think you open up a lot of spectrum in terms of the opportunities which are present in the industry. So that will certainly help you manyfold to to be able to understand what is happening and to be able to perform well as a data scientist. So ideally, one tool is also enough, right? If you're starting up, you start with one tool, that is also good enough. But if you're looking to get to all the opportunities which are present. 90, I think 90 odd percent of the opportunities will be open for you if you do R in Python, just these two tools in terms of data modeling. And then at least one data visualization tool you should know. It could be Tableau, ClickView, Power BI, you name it, right? There are many BI tools. You can know at least one reporting tool to be able to create reports and send it out to business. Apart from that, data handling needs SQL knowledge. So SQL as a programming language, a bit of that is certainly handy. If not a very advanced level, at least basic intermediate level of SQL everybody should know, so that you can handle data better. Okay, as a data scientist, at least these two things are important: SQL, data visualization tool, modeling tool, and Excel. Okay, so you can concentrate on these four tools first. Once you have built your spectrum strong, then you can go ahead and do so much more with it. All right, any questions, any confusions at this point in time, anyone, in terms of only what I've talked about? Other questions I'll take up a little later. All of us are good? Okay, again requesting some of you who came in a little late can certainly fill up the form. Okay, statistics is the thing in data science. So there's nothing like this much amount of statistics. You need to know statistics as much as you know, right? The more statistics you know, the better would be your problem solving ability. So statistics is something which will bare minimum. I'll talk about it. I mean, we certainly try and cover all of that. I'll give you the course structure and stuff, and there will what is the bare minimum you should know. Okay, you might not need to go deep into mathematics, but basic mathematics at least you should know. Again, there also. All right. Okay, fair enough. Now leaving the slide. Um, okay, so I'm jumping directly into the case. Okay, again asking you, how many of you have done the credit risk modeling case with me? Anybody who has attended my session and done credit risk modeling case? Yes, no? None? Okay, fair enough. So let's do the same case. Let's do the credit risk modeling case, and we'll try and explore more on the data, what it is, how do you go about solving the data science. I mean, how do you actually take up a data science problem, and how do you approach that problem? I'll talk about that, and then uh, I'll also talk about uh, I'll also talk about I'll take a case and explain that to you. Okay, since this is a hands-on session, um, I would want to do a little more on the other things. So some of you, I'm sure, would be aware of basic R as well. Some of you, I'm sure, are pretty new to that. So I'll kind of give you a very quick gist, but I'll do that on the tool, right? So I would need a couple of minutes so that I can give you the access to the lab. That will be one thing, and then I can make you do the problems, right? All those who have not filled the form, please fill it so that I can give you the access to the lab, would be handy. Okay, just give me 1 sec. I'm taking away the screen for a minute. All right.
I have one question.
Sorry, who's that?
Hello?
Yeah, Shalab.
Yeah. Hi, this is Ravi. I have one question. Like,
Go on, go on.
I'm not attending this on a laptop. I'm attending this on my phone. So, like, whether to proceed and take maximum hour of the session, is it possible through the phone or not?
Not really, because I mean, the session is a hands-on session. If you do it, you would be able to get more out of it. But if you still want to see what is happening and understand more about it, I'm perfectly okay even with that. So
I mean, at least something visible will be visible, or
no, no,
like
everything will
there
be
will be.
no, no, everything will be visible. I'll be doing on my screen. It's just that
Okay.
you will not be doing it on your screen. Still,
Okay.
if some of you have not filled the form, please do that. Again, a quick request. Um, okay, about 17 forms is what I have, what I have, and about 25, 26 people is what I have here. Um, so those who have not filled the form, again, I've given you the link. Please fill it on the chat window. It's there on the chat window. You can fill that up. Okay. Uh, all right. So, okay. So quickly, let me do one these things.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, so just now I have opened it. It's written in front of me that hands-off session, hands-on session, and organizer name, Mohammed, meeting ID. What I have to do next on that? This is my first session, that's right.
No, I have on the chat window. I have given you a. Uh, do you see the chat
Yeah, I
window?
have.
Yeah, there's a
Yes, I
link
have.
to a file. Just click. Uh, okay, Saurabh, I've taken away the screen as I said. Uh, so just fill up the form.
No, there is no link for me. It's like I will just look
Now
because
look,
I'm doing this from phone.
just on okay on the phone, right? So no problems. I think
Mhm.
you'll not be able. So let it be. If you're on the phone, you'll anyways not be accessing the lab. Hence you can let it be.
No, but I am on the laptop. I'm just reading the message on the chat what I have received.
What is the message that you've received? No. So you might have received other links as well, right? If you go up,
See, it's like I have a
no
blank
problems.
page where
No
it's
no problems. Just give me 1 sec. Let me ping it to you once again. Do you see that now?
yes.
Okay. Please fill this form.
I think I have done that, but I'll do it once again.
Okay.
This is my first session.
No problems. That's perfectly all right. Let that be.
Okay. Um, it's written asking what organization.
Yeah, whatever it is, just fill it. No. I mean, I
I'm
know.
not sure about the organization.
So which company you work with? If you're not aware, let it be. I think you need to be smart
No,
enough
not
to answer
working.
those questions. Yeah. So let it be. Just put it now. Not working. That's okay. Uh, Alright, I've muted all of you. Quickly see the screen. You can use this ID and password, and if you need to access the lab using uh, this link, which is lab.dimensionless.in. Everybody can access the lab using this link, and you can use this as your ID, right? So just pick your name, use the ID, and you can get started.
Yeah, hi Kush. My name is Mohit. I'm able to see my name on this list.
Have you filled the form? I don't think you filled the form.
Well, yes, I have filled the form, but my name
Today?
is not here.
Today?
Yeah, yeah.
No. See, these are the responses to the form. I don't see your responses. Not filled the form with. If you filled, it would have come to me. Can you fill it now? Once again.
Sure, I can. Yeah, yeah, I can do it.
Please. Mani Prakash, can you also? Saurabh, can you fill the form? I've given you the link. Please fill the form once again. Ideally, maybe it's your network connection because of which it did not come up. Is there on the chat window? Quickly, it'll take only a minute. Uh, so I need to clean this up. I'm not really clean this up either. So no problems. We'll try and work with this. If you okay, this is I think not cleaned up. Even if it is not cleaned up, I would request you to just leave it like that and open a new file and work with that file. Okay, I'll just clean this part. I don't want this thing here. I'll explain all of this to you. Some of you might really be new to this. Um, yeah, let me go back to this. Yeah. Uh, okay, Mani Prakash, just give me 1 sec. Oh, okay, this is where assistant would have been handy. 1 sec. Yeah, great. Yes, the link is there on the chat window. Quickly, everybody has filled it now. Saurabh, you can take this. Okay. Yes, guys, can you all see my screen now? Saurabh, you can take up the next one,
Yes.
guest 23, and Mani, you can take up guest 24. Okay, all right. Let's get started. All right. So this is your R studio. This is how our R studio looks like, and we'll be trying to do a simple basic problem on data science. So whenever you're working with data, I mean any business problem, the first and the foremost thing you need to understand is the first thing that you need to do is understand what the business problem is all about. Okay, let me just take one window and give you a very quick insight into that. Yeah. So any business problem, you first understand the business problem, and within that business problem, you try and figure out what the data is. Okay. Once that is done, once you understand the business problem and once you know, okay, this is what my data is all about, then you try and understand the data. What really understanding of data means. Uh, Understanding the data would be the second important thing. So when I say you need to understand the data, what I really mean is you need to explore your data, right? You need to do exploratory analysis of your data, and that exploratory data analysis will help you uh, find multiple things that could be. So the first thing you could do is, okay, what is the dependent variable that you're trying to figure out, and what are the different independent variables that you're trying to figure out. There can be various names to dependent and independent variables, right? So it could be dependent or target variable, independent or predictor variables, right? So various names are there. So first of all, understand what is the dependent and what is the independent variable that we're trying to work with. Then the second thing you can do is you can understand more about the you can do, okay, what kind of data types are present. Is the data type of the data that your system has, is it taking it correctly or not, or is it taking the data type incorrectly, right? Then you go on and do univariate analysis, which is understanding each variable. I'll kind of explain that. Then you do bivariate analysis, trying to understand how the relationship between two variables is, and then if you see if there is any missing values or outliers or other things in your data, any inconsistency in your data, you try and remove all of that, and you make the data good enough for analysis. Okay, and that will be required for any set of data for which you're doing ML, on which you're applying machine learning. Okay, so we'll try and do all of that with a set of data. I'll give you that data and we'll work with that. Before we get to that, I'll quickly explain you how R works, right? So if you look at this, this is your R Studio, which is an IDE. IDE is nothing but integrated development environment. And why do you use an IDE? It's primarily a GUI based thing, which is helping you do the task in an easier and efficient way. Primarily because R is a console based language, right? Many of you might be aware it's a console based programming language. See, there are various IDEs which are available, right? There are various IDEs available, but when you work with R primarily is a programming tool which would looks like this, right? If you look at my window, this is how R looks like. Uh, Correct. So this is your R. Now you can have various IDs for R. At the end of the day, this R would be used in all of that to help you perform the analysis. Okay, then you have within that R, you have other enterprise editions of it. You have Shiny for doing better visual reporting. You have Rattle. There are various things. Again, I'm saying, but don't get into all of that right away. You can start understanding the basics of our first, work with R Studio first, and then go ahead and work more with the other things. Okay, so here this is your R Studio, which is an IDE, and you're uh, trying to work with this, right? Now I'll quickly explain what each of this window does. This is your script writer. This is where you write your code, right? This is your script editor, whatever you want to call it. Here you write your code, right? You can write a set of code and execute it 100 times. But if you write it here, you'll not be able to execute it well, right? That is where the challenge would be. Whenever you take the script and run it, the execution would happen over here. You'll be able to see the executed code, the output on the console, right? So this is your R, where your commands get executed. Once they get executed, you would be able to get to certain output. This is your global environment, right? This is where all the objects in R would set up. So you will be creating data sets, variables, functions, various kinds of various kinds of things you'll be creating. All of that will sit here, and when they're there, you'll be able to work with that. If they're not present in global environment, you really won't be able to work with a certain thing. I mean, provided it's there in some other package. So if it is there in some other package or on global environment, you'll be able to work with that. Okay. Again, packages is something which is very important, and packages is nothing but the backbone of R, wherein you have they provide a lot of functionality. So when you work with R, a lot of people ask me, do I need to be a very good programmer when I take up R? So the answer to that is really a big no. When you work with R, you already have so many things which are pre-coded. It's like the 10,000 plus packages which are available in R, and each package is like it has multiple functionalities. So you can well imagine the kind of things that you can do with R, the kind of functionality that R provides. So you can integrate R with just about any tool, right? It's like you can integrate with Tableau, ClickView, with your big data, with Hadoop, Spark, Twitter, Facebook, you name it, and you can do the analysis through R. So R is again open source freeware tool, very easy to use, and there's a lot of community help which has built up these 10,000 plus packages. And since there are so many packages which are already available, you just have to use those packages in your file or in your code, and then once you use those packages in your code, you'll be able to do the analysis very easily. Okay, for example, there's a package called ggmap, which is for Google Maps. So any Google map you want to work with, you just have your ggmap package here, and you'll be able to just maybe figure out I mean, you can just get the map here, you can get the latitude longitude here in our in a matter of minutes. It's pretty simple to use. Only thing is, you don't have to you have to uh, be smart enough to work with it. It's more of a logic oriented thing than a code oriented thing. I mean, for me, it's that simple. So when you're getting into R, don't fear that it's a programming language and I might not be able to do it. It is pretty simple to work with. Okay. And here you have the help window and other things that you see. Okay. Now let's get started with this basics, right? So R Studio is the IDE that we're using. As I said, there are various IDEs which you can use. Then packages, I already talked about it. There are various data types that R supports. So you can use numeric, integer, character. Last window has multiple things, right? This is the files. You have the files. You can create the plots. Whatever plot you create, it'll come up here. These are the packages which are installed here. This is the help window. So you want to know about a certain function, say simple mean function, right? You can get to know the uh, how that mean function works. You'll be able to see the help on that. Okay, so this will help give you a lot of help on the data, so on and so forth. So you have a lot of things here. Again, in the interest of time, I'm not really going deeper into things. I hope you would understand that. But you understand the gist of it. You need to know. You need to write the code here. You need to execute. The code needs to get executed, and the objects need to be created. And then you keep proceeding with that. So R is pretty simple to use. You can very easily use any code. So if you want to assign a variable, right? If you want to create a variable, again it's pretty simple. You say A has a value of 10, and you run this. Now, how do you run this code? From here, you say a, you're assigning a value of 10 to a, and how do you run it? You do control plus enter from the above one, or you use this run button, or you say control plus enter on that line, and that line will be executed. Okay, I've executed it multiple times. So at the end of the day, I've got this object created in the global environment, right? An object A is present in the global environment, which can uh, give me a certain value, right? I hope those who are pretty new to R, I would expect you to keep doing this along with me. Similarly, if you have another set of data, say B20, um, now B will have a value 20 here. Right? Again, I've created. Now, if you want to do simple C is equals to A plus B.
Uh, Hello,
Yeah,
Kush.
yeah,
Because we can use equal to sign as well, correct?
correct. You can use equal
Over
to. So
here.
okay, hold on. Let me just tell you. So it is this, this, or this. All the three you can use. But this
Mhm.
arrow should be pointed to the variable name, and the tail should have the value. You can use equal to also,
Okay.
but the
Like a equal to 10, if you write, it will be the same thing,
correct,
correct?
but it is not the best practice. Okay, so the
Okay.
best practices is using the arrow is why I'm stressing on that. So,
Okay, okay. It is arrow. I'm so sorry. I thought it was greater than
yeah, so it's
and
primarily greater than an hyphen only, but that amounts to an arrow. Okay,
okay, okay.
all right. This link you should be able to access, Padmini. Everybody is able to access uh, the path. I've given you the link once again. Just check that up. You need to be able to log into with the ID that I've given you to work with. Um, so guest 11 is what you should use, and you should be able to log in there. All right, coming back here. So if you work with R, pretty simple. You just say C is equals to A plus B, and again an object C is created in the global environment, which is having a value 30, right? Uh, Now there are various kinds of things that, so R will support any kind of numeric data, logical data. So logical data would be of the type say true and false. I say 3 less than 5, right? Now the output of this will be either true or false, because this is a condition that I'm doing, right? So 3 less than 5, the output will be true. This is true. Now a, a logical value that it can have. So it can have character value, logical value, integer value, numeric value, all kinds of values. Um, Again, let me tell you what. So numeric value is any number from minus infinity to plus infinity. Logical is true or false. Integer is only the integral part, and again you have to mention L to say that this is integer. And then you have string for which you need to put quotes in there. Username password is, who is that? I'm sorry. Put in your name. I'll be able to give you. Just a second. Okay. It's guest 13 and guest 13, Ravi Kumar. You can use that. Make sure it is in small, both the things. You should be able to access it. Yeah. So you have various kinds of data types that you can access, right? Um, so various data types and then various data structures, right? So you have, everybody understands data structures, right? Which is used to keep the data. So you have arrays, single, which are called vectors, and then you have data frames, you have matrices. I'll just talk about quickly about vector. I'll do a quick one question on vector, and then we'll move to data frames, import the data, and start exploring the data. Okay. Again, in the interest of time. So when you talk of vectors, vectors is simple one-dimensional data structure which can have multiple values. And when you put multiple values, you have to use this function C. Again, R is a case-sensitive language, so this capital A and small a would be. And if you have a function mean which has to be written like this, you cannot write it like this. It would not make sense. Okay. So I want to put a value of say 10, 20, 30, 40, and 50 here in this variable A, capital A. Now this is a vector A, which is of say numeric data type, and which will have these 5 values. Okay, so the moment I've done it, it tells me that I have created, just look at the global environment, you'd be able to see that I've created a variable A, which is numeric in type and contains 5 values, and those values are 10, 20, 30, 40, and 50. Okay. Again, there are various things when you work with it, named vector, and how do you do so many things with vector. But I would do only what is absolute necessary here, and then we'll go ahead and work with the other things. So this is my vector, right? Now I can, if I want to pull in some value out of this vector, say value at the third position, I can say a of 3. It will give me the value at the third position, which will be 30 here, right? So to subset the values, you use the square brackets in R, and this is a vector. You're trying to subset the values. You're trying to pull out a value. Subsetting is nothing but you have a, okay, so it starts with 1. It does not start with 0. Okay, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So most of your programming languages start with 0. This starts with 1. Okay, so this is the position. So when you say subsetting, you're only trying to create a subset. You have larger set of data, you're pulling out some value out of it, right? So that is subsetting. Okay. Um, Now if I run this, to run this I have to use control plus enter. Okay, and that this command is being run here. So it tells me that the value is 30, which is in the third position, right? Similarly, I can use a true or a false. And if I say a square bracket c of, again, since I'm using multiple values, I need to use c, right? If I wanted to use only one value, then I could have done that. So I want f, I want t, I want t, and I want f here. Control plus enter would do. Or you can also use this run, right? Suppose it is here, I click on this run, that hasn't been run. Okay. If you're only on the console, if you're writing something here, just enter would do. Okay, coming back here, so you have a of this value. Now wherever, in whichever position you have true, that value will be given to you, the others will be dropped off. Okay, let's quickly do a question. Give me all the all values which are uh, divisible by say 5 between, or divisible by say 3 between 1 and 10. Okay, I want to do this question. I want to find all the values which are divisible by 3 between 1 and 10. I want to create a vector. So to create a vector which contains all the values from 1 to 10, I'll just do that for you, creating the vector at least for now, which will be 1 colon 10, right? So if you do 1 colon 10, that will also help you find all the values here. Okay, now this will give you all the values which are present between 1 and 10. So you see all the values. Now if you print b, if you see here, b is an integer vector which contains values between 1 and 10. Now I want you to create a vector, say vector x, which contains only values which are divisible by 3 from 1 to 10. So it should ideally have 3, 6, and 9. But I want you to do that with a logic. How many of you think you can do it? Yes, no?
I can't.
Okay, at least give it a shot. Those who think cannot do it, don't say no, just try it.
Logically, I know about that. Yes, it's a 369, but to enter over here, I'm not sure how to do that.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to tell you. So if you try and focus here, you should be able to do that.
Said, reminder is 0.
Correct,
Will you
reminders.
batch
Correct.
can will see if a reminder.
Correct, wonderful. So if you, how do you see? Okay, just to tell you the reminder, if you do double percent, this will give you the remainder. So if you say, okay, just to do one more thing here, if you say b plus 5, sorry, b plus 5, what that will do is it will add all value 5 to each element of b. You don't have to run a loop here. Okay, so you see it made all the values increase by 5. Okay, so it's now you just have to make sure you divide b, and this double %, will give you the remainder or you could also have used other things. If you say divide by 3, right, b ampersand 3 is equals to 0. That is what you want. How many of you have understood what I've written here in line 18? B double percent means mod. So B mod 3 should be equal to 0. If that is equals to 0, I will get a true or false. So the output of this will not really be a value. It will be either true or false, right? Because it will be either 0 or 1 or 2. It will be comparing. So for first case, it will be false, false, true, then false, false, true, false, false, true, and then false. That is what we are expecting. So 1 divided by 3 will be not equal to 0. So that will be false. Correct. So I'm getting for 1 it is false, for 2 it is false, 3 equals to true. फिर false, false, and then again true. False, false, another true, and then another false. Okay. Are you there with me? Anybody
Yes.
who's not understood this, want me to explain? Say I'm okay explaining. Okay, I've cleared the console using
How
control
will
I
we
got
F.
it.
get the numbers like this number?
Kindly explain. Okay, yeah, you're saying something, somebody's saying something. How did I get the
Yeah, here we got only false, true, false. How will we get this if you want the
numbers?
particular numbers that
Correct,
this
correct,
number should
correct,
be
correct.
printed?
Now, so I told you this, right? The reason for telling you this was the same, that you can correct, Rutvik. So what you need to do, you have got this condition. Now the output of this is true and false, right? So you want the position where the value is true, correct? So if you subset, use B, and in square brackets, what do
And
you
the
put?
numbers and which are the number?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Hold on. No? So you are know the position where this will be true, right? So in your data, if you subset the positions where this is true, you will get the value. So in the third position, whatever the value in your data. So in B, you are subsetting this. Or you could have taken this output, saved it somewhere and still did it. Are you there with me? You could have done this, right? F comma F comma T, correct? F comma F comma T, which is same as writing this thing, right? Because the output of this is also same. Yes or no? So if I
Yes.
run this line 19,
Yes.
I will get the output, which will give me the numbers which are divisible by 3. So subsetting will be important to whatever. Now this B could have had 1 lakh numbers, right? I could make it any number. I will always get the output. I don't have to worry about anything because that entire loop is running on its own, isn't it? Clear, everyone? Okay. Vishesh,
Yes.
got it now? Okay, fair enough. So let's move on. Now this is a simple vector. Okay. Now we need to move on and talk about data frame. So data frame is one of the most commonly used data structures in data science, and uh, primarily because data frames allows you to data frames allow you to have a tabular data, right? This is a tabular data, and this data can have multiple data types. So this one variable could be numeric, this could be character, this could be logical, anything it could be, right? Or string. So it allows you to have multiple data types. Okay, so you'll have multiple rows and multiple columns, and you know each of the row and columns could be different. The data types could be different, and most of your real-time data will be like that only, right? One observation could have multiple types of values, right? Character, name, the grade, what is likings are, or whatever it could be based on person or some property of a car. Anywhere it will be a character value, an integer value, and numeric value amalgamation, or you'll have multiple variables in multiple rows, and when you work with that, you will get an output which is when you import such data here, that is in the form of a data frame. Okay, so data frame is one such data structure here which allows you to have multiple data types in a tabular structure. And if you remember, all your tables in your databases are stored like that only, right? So those tables, if you pull here in R, they will become a data frame. Just giving you a simple example of a data frame. So let me do one thing. So this empty cars is a data frame which is present in your system also. If you do empty cars, you'd be able to print it. Just say empty cars and run this. Right, you see a lot of things here. I would request you to change that command and say head of empty cars. Now that will be a little more, comfortable to work with, is why I'm asking you to do that. Just say head of empty cars. It'll show you only first 6 rows. That's the only reason I've asked you, because now you see there are multiple rows, multiple columns and multiple rows, and each of that will have different sets of values. Okay, so this is how your data frame works. Okay, now we'll talk about data frames. We'll do the data frames. We'll do the subsetting and other things in data frames. Right? This is how the data frame looks like, which will have two-dimensional structure. And if you want to pull one column out of this data frame, say you are interested in the cylinder column only. Okay, so what you need to do, you need to say empty cars dollar cylinder. Okay, if you do this, you will be able to pull only the cylinder column out of this. Okay, and it is giving you the entire column, not the just 6 values, because the entire empty cars contains all these values. Fair enough. Anybody has any questions? Okay, let me give you one more thing. You to try this question also. In the meantime, I'll give you another question to work with. So if I do unique of this, it'll give me the unique values, which are the distinct values. This will be important when you work with, categorical data. I'll talk about that also in a while. So I've got here 6, 4, and 8 as unique values, or distinct values in this cylinder. So there are three kinds of cylinders present in my car. Either the car will have 4 cylinders, 6 cylinders, or 8 cylinders. Can you tell me in your empty cars data how many different gears are present in? Okay, uh, so empty cars is an inbuilt data set. Okay, and when I say it is inbuilt, it means it has come up with some or the other package. So every package contains multiple things. So there's a question whether it is an inbuilt data set. How do I get it here? What this data set is all about? So again, in this class, I would not be able to go too deep into it, but I'll just give you a quick brief. So when you talk of data sets, with every package comes some or the other basic data sets, right? So every package will have some data sets, and if you want to know what all data sets are present in your system, you can simply run this data command, and you see there are these data sets are present in your system, and there are a lot of them. Okay, and if you want to know about what this data set contains, what is this all about, what are these variables all about, you can simply go and do, say, help of empty cars or help of that data set. You'll be able to know more about it. Okay. All right. So Mike, I gave you another question to solve, and that was find the number of this gears which are present in your unique gears present in your empty cars data set. It'll take only 30 seconds for you to solve. I expect you to do it quickly. How many unique values are there? 3 unique values, right?
Yeah,
Three.
648.
648. No, it is
8.
gears I'm asking.
345.
345. Gears will be 345, right? You just have to change this value
Okay.
and say gear, and you get the output as 345. Now you had only 3 values. If the length was very large, consider the length was very large. So you could use a length function as well to know the length of the output. Okay, what is the length? Length function will give you the number of elements which are present in that vector. Again, I'm not going too much into it. Okay, just give me 1 sec. I think this is not the data set that I want to work with. I'll just give you the link to the data that we are working with. Okay, 1 sec. Just give me 1 second, guys. I think that's a incorrect data set which is present there, and to give you the correct one. Oh, Okay.
I'm unable to see the screen.
Yeah, I am giving you a data set. I'm trying to pull it out from the console. Is why I'm
Sure,
just
sure,
taking over the screen for a minute.
sure, sure. We can use that January February one as well.
Sorry.
Data frame. Anti.
Okay, no, I'm giving you the link. Just one sec. Yeah, everybody, you can have this link and you can download this data. Let's start working with this data. Okay. Okay. Another question I have here is, are data sets and data frame different or same? See, data set is I mean, I can have a data set which might not be a data frame. Data frame is a data structure, okay, which is a two-dimensional data structure, and where you can have multiple columns or multiple variables. Okay, multiple columns on multiple variables, which are which have different data types. Okay, data set can have a data structure. I mean, can have all the data of same data type also. So data set is a generic term. So a matrix can be a data set, a vector could be a data, but a data frame is a two-dimensional data structure, which is specific data structure, specific kind of data set. Okay, have I answered that, Vasudevan? Okay, you got the data, everyone? Okay, so we used a data set. Now this data set is of the type data frame. When you imported that data set into R, when you open this data set on Excel, it would be a data set. A data set is set of data, multiple things. Now when you import that data which is tabular in nature, and when you import that into R, that becomes a data frame. So if you look at this data, suppose if you are only talking about this gears column, right? Only gears. Suppose this is the data you have. Now this is not if you look at only this data, this is not really a data. I mean, this is a data set, but this is only a vector. But data frame would be can have two-dimensional data structure, and again heterogeneous data. Okay, now let's try and start with this analyzing this data which we were working with. And I've given you the link. Everybody has got the data with you. Anybody who's not got the data, just one sec.
Received.
Everybody's got it, right? Let's open this data and start working with it. Now if you look at this data, okay, this is a credit risk data, and I'm trying to solve a business problem where I'm trying to see that, okay, if I, again, this is a very small data set, right? Generally you would not want to work with such a small data set, but for the interest of this time and for simplicity, I've taken a very small set of data, say less than 1% of what I had. uh, so now I want to take this data and I want to predict based on certain parameters what kind of people would actually pay back the loan that they have taken from me, or if I have to give out loans to individuals as a banker, to whom should I actually give the loan, and to whom, which all people I should not really give the loan, and I should deny or reject their applications, right? Because it's very difficult for you to predict that beforehand. You're trying to create a model, you're trying to understand what kind of people actually take your money and run away, and then based on the basis of the insights, one could be a simple rules, right? You can decide, okay, these are my fixed rules I would want to work with. The other thing is you can use data to become a little more efficient with your analysis. You just don't decide only by a certain few rules. You try and understand more about data and kind of patterns that the data might give you, and then according to that you take a call. Okay, so if you look at this data, there are a lot of variables here. Okay, you have credit scores, you have years in current job, you have home ownership, uh, annual income, uh, years of credit history, number of credit problem that somebody had, current credit balance, and so on and so forth. Right? You have about 1500 rows here, and you have loan ID and customer ID and loan status. So this loan status, current loan amount, short-term or long-term loan, credit score. There are a lot of variables that we can work with. So somewhere around 8-10 variables is what I have here. Okay. Now, if I want to ask you which variable are we interested in figuring out, whether somebody will take the money and run away or whether he will pay you back, right? So here running away is charged off and somebody who pays you back is fully paid. Okay, so there are two types of data present. So which is my independent variable here and which is the dependent variable here? Anybody you understand the dependent and independent variable? What does it mean? You want me to explain? Anybody, even a single person wants me to explain, I'll do that. Not sure. Okay, no problems. Okay, so when you talk of dependent variable, that is the variable which is dependent on multiple things, right? And independent are simple as the name suggests. These are variables which we are not really bothered about, right? So our aim is to figure out whether somebody will take away the loan, take away the money and run off or not. So my loan status will become the dependent variable, right? The dependent variable will be loan status and all the other variables. So whether loan status is dependent on current loan amount, whether it is dependent on the term of loan, short term or long term loan, whether it is dependent on the credit score or not, and so on and so forth, various variables that you have, all of those will be independent variables, and you have loan status as the dependent variable that you're working with here. Clear? Are we good, everyone? So loan status will be my dependent variable and the others will be independent variable. Now, again, quick question from you. Some of you are not, I'm not sure aware of not. Once you're done with this, then you try and figure out the second thing when you are analyzing the data. So second thing is how many of this data are continuous in nature and how many of them are categorical in nature. Everybody understands continuous and categorical variables? So they'll depend, we'll have to figure that out, Vasudevan, based on our data. Are they aware or not? We would want to figure that out. Okay, so continuous data is generally numeric data. Some of you said you're not aware. Some of you are saying you're not aware. Let me quickly do this. So continuous data is numeric data or something which can be, which can be kind of put up in a set of numbers, which can be put up on a number line. So which is like a time series data, right? Then you have categorical data, which is generally categorical means which can take certain fixed finite values, which will take certain fixed or finite values, like your say maybe gender, maybe the place that you were born, right? Your birthplace, maybe your blood group, right? There could be so many things. Everything which can take only certain finite value will be a categorical data. Okay, so categorical data and continuous data, these are two kinds of data that we have. Let's figure out of these data which of them are categorical, which of them are continuous. Okay, tell me which loan ID is categorical, continuous, quickly. Loan ID is continuous or categorical? See, this is a string value, right? What kind of data it is? First tell me what kind of data it is. This is a string data, yes or no? This is all string, right? This is string, this is string, this is string, this is a numeric data, this is a string data, again numeric. Years in current job, this will be
गेट बंद कर देना, गेट बंद कर देना. अरे पढ़ रहा हूँ, कुछ कर रहा हूँ, ऑनलाइन कुछ कोड.
okay. You can keep yourself muted and talk, it will help others as well. Okay, coming back here, so I was saying this.
That's right? A category data.
So okay, years in current job is a categorical data.
The loan ID is category, which I said.
Loan ID is categorical. Continuous data, customer ID is categorical. We're talking of
Mm-hmm.
first we're talking of data types. We'll come to the continuous and categorical in a while. This is string, string,
Mm-hmm.
string. This is numeric, string, numeric, string, string, numeric, numeric, right? Numeric, again numeric, all of that are numeric. Now this is categorical, 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 continuous, categorical, categorical, this, sorry, continuous, categorical, categorical, continuous, continuous, continuous. It could be continuous, it could be categorical, because it seems like 1 and 0 and 2. I could take it as numeric and I could take it as categorical as well. This is generally it will take it as categorical value, right? And this is again again a numeric data, right? So continuous data. Now, if I have to do this analysis, suppose now you do univariate analysis, which means you're trying to understand each variable. Okay, so I'll try and tell you how do you explore a categorical data and how exactly do you explore a numeric data. What is the approach that you have when you do that? Okay, okay. So let's do that. Uh, Let me first import this data into R, and then we'll try and do more with it. Okay, yeah. So I've got this data here. Let's try and go back to our R Studio and try and import this data here, right? Since this is a simple CSV file, I have a very simple function read.csv, and I'm passing entire link to this file. Okay, I'm passing the link to this file where my data resides. Okay, and this might be a URL as well, right? As you see, this is a URL, which means the data is sitting on some on the net somewhere. You're able to import it, right? And let's see how exactly this importing will happen. I'll run this again. Now, once I have run it, you see nothing came up here in the global environment, right? Correct. You see the data came up and went here, but nothing actually came up in the global environment. Why that really has happened here is because if you look at this data, right, I have not really saved this output of this read.csv anywhere. Suppose I say I want to save it in uh, data, right? Okay, that's the name I want to give to the variable that I'm creating to import this data. Okay, let me import this data here. Great. Now you see on the global environment, once you run this command, everybody run this command with me. Those who are pretty new can, again, I would expect you to do more on this. Those who have done it earlier would be pretty easy for you to work with. So quickly import this data using this read.csv command, and you would see that this data or whatever name you give should appear inside within this data tab in the global environment. And you see there are 1487 observations of 12 variables, which means there are 12 columns and 1487 rows in this data, which is again a pretty small data set, right? But again, as I said, I really did not want it to take a very large data set. It will take a bit of time for it to be processed. Okay, now once you have imported this data, correct, you want to explore each variable. Okay, you want to explore each variable. Again, I'm clearing the console. How do I clear the console? Control plus L, right? The moment I do control plus L, the console is cleared. I'll be able to work with that better now. Okay, let me just take this away. Yeah, you are interested in exploring the data. Now, if you want to view what this data is within R, you can simply click on this data where this data is written, or you can run this command view data. Both of that will work in a similar way, because when you click on this, it actually has initiated this command view data. And this, if you see here, these are the various variables that you are working with. Okay, these are the various variables that you're working with. Now, if you look at this loan ID, this is a string value which is unique to every customer. Okay, loan ID is pretty unique to every customer. Customer ID is again unique to a certain customer. Do you think if I find a trend for people who have taken away the money in terms of loan ID or customer ID, will it make sense? My customer ID is 12345. Somebody else's is 12345 or 6, 12346. Now 5 and 6 and similar people have run away with that. Uh,
It won't make any sense.
it would not make any sense, right? So customer ID and loan ID, these are unique to every customer, and I mean, this is just a identification number. So even if you try and find some pattern on the identification number, won't really be helpful because this is assigned randomly, right? Correct. They are identifiers. Wonderful. So loan ID and customer ID is something which will not really be analyzing here. Okay. Uh, Now the loan status, right? Loan status is a categorical variable, isn't it? Now, if I want to explore this categorical variable, what I can do, I can see what kind of data is present in the categorical variable, right? So to be able to explore this categorical variable, uh, so if you have categorical variable, what is the best measure of central tendency for that? How many of you understand measure of central tendency? Anybody who understands measure of central tendency? Uh, okay, you understand mean median mode? Yes, mean median mode you understand, right? No, spread of distribution is different thing. So measure of central tendency is nothing but your mean median mode only. Okay, what does that really mean? Standard deviation and variance are spread of data. That's different. Measure of central tendencies. You have a set of data, right? A lot of data here. You want to represent all this data by one single value. Okay, one single value is what you want to figure out. You know, want to explain all of this data with one value. That will be your either mean or median or mode. Okay. Now, when do you use mode? When do you use median? When do you use mean? So if you have continuous data, right? If all of this data is continuous, numeric in nature, then you can use mean or median, right? Now, median is a better measure when the data is when the distribution is a is a skewed distribution. It's not a normal distribution, and so on and so forth. When the data is again uniform, you can use mean or median. Would not really matter, but there's so many things which do that. I'll not go into deeper aspects of that. For now, let's focus on these things. So mean median you can easily find for a data which is continuous, but for a continuous data I mean you can still find mode, right? But if the data is categorical in nature, right? So certain categories, blood group or gender, you cannot find mean or median of that data. So you can always find the mode of that data, right? So for understanding the categorical variable, you generally try and use the mode there. Okay, are you with me, everyone? Now, how do you find the mode of this data in R, right? So it's pretty simple. Now we need to access this column. How do you access this column? First, tell me that.
Vector plus like data and symbol.
Yeah, so what do? You give the data dollar the name of the column. Okay, what is the name of the column?
Yeah.
Amrind, if you could type on the chat window, it would be great. Dollar loan status is what I'm interested in, right? Loan status. So data dollar loan status, this is what I'm interested in, right? Now on this I want to again make sure that you use the correct name, right? So whatever be the correct name, so make sure you use the correct name there while accessing this data. All right. So if you look at this data dollar loan status, you're trying to access that entire column, and if you want to do some kind of analysis on this column, how would you do? You can use a function called simple table function, right? Now what this table function would do, it will give you the count of each category in your data. You could have done the same thing with your empty cars also. Suppose you wanted to know how many cars uh, how many cars have say 4 gears, or how many of cars have 5 gears and how many cars have 3 gears. That is the question. If you wanted to answer, you wanted to know the count of each category, isn't it? That again is your categorical data: 3 4 5 number of gears. Okay, again if you add 3 gears and 4 gears and 5 gears, and if you say suppose you have got say whatever number of values there, if you try and find the mean number of gears, that will not make any sense, right? That is primarily a categorical data, although that is numbers there, 3 4 and 5. but that is a categorical data, isn't it? So if you do empty cars dollar say gear table of this, you would get the count of each category, how many times any certain value is being put up in the data. Okay, so if you see, there are 15 cars which had 3 gears, 4 cars which had 12 cars which had 4 gears, and 5 cars which had 5 gears there. Okay, are you with me, everyone, following this pretty simple thing?
Yes.
Okay, fair enough. So let's move on. Now you can do the same thing on loan status, right? What is the output that you get quickly? Okay, Shalab, seems like you are in a hostel or somewhere. There's a lot of background noise. I've muted you. Uh, okay, you could add CSV file to my desktop screen. You can just click on that file. It will be downloaded to your system. And from your desktop also, you can, when you're working with RStudio, this is in cloud version. So on the cloud, you should have that file to be able to work with. If you're trying to work with that file, away from the cloud, you'll not really be able to work with that file. Okay, Ankit. Uh, but if you're working with your desktop, certainly if you have data on your desktop, you can always do that analysis there. Okay, now this is one simple way, right? Now I know that, okay, there are for 1100 people who have actually taken the money and run away with that. Whereas if you look at the total people who have charged off, there are about 355 people in the data set who have 1132 people who have paid me back, and 355 people who have taken the money and run away with that, right? Now I want to say simple create a plot of this, right? I can just want to depict this pictorially, and I say plot, and I simply say data dollar loan status, loan dot status, and I run this. Right. So if you see this graph here, this shows you some kind of analysis, what kind of data is present here, right? So you have about these many people who have charged off, and this is the number of people who have uh, who have actually paid you the money, right? Now again, if you had a continuous data, we might have created a other chart, right? So for categorical data, generally you'll be able to, when you do two categorical data, you can do so much more with that. But I'm taking one at a time. So you can draw plots, you can understand the mode, and primarily that is what that is the analysis that you generally do with a categorical data. It's very difficult to work with categorical data, right? Again, you can see multiple categorical data, how they work, how the relationship is happening. If for a certain category or certain two categories, do you have something? uh, yeah, so R will decide the type of no, so you have set plot here. Now based on categorical data, it understood, okay, this is what I could draw, and it will draw it, right? You can say box plot, you can say it is a histogram. You will have to at times tell R what kind of a plot you want, right? So there are various commands. There's a entire package called ggplot2, which is there only for visualization. Again, that's a humongous package, and you can do so much more with it. But again, in the interest of time, I'll not go deeper into it. We'll try and take a few more data and try and analyze this. Okay, now you have say current loan amount. Now this is a continuous data. I want to explore this continuous data, which is say current loan amount, right? How would you explore this data? Now I can use say simple mean function, median function. So when you have to explore categorical data, you can find the measure of central tendency, which is mean, median, the maximum value, minimum value, right? You can find the variability of the data. Okay, variability of the data. So variability of the data is how the data is spread, right? What is the spread of data? So variability will be like it is measured in the form of standard deviation or interquartile range and so on and so forth, right? Again, when I'll not go deeper into this for now. IQRS, you'll have Q1, quartile 1, quartile 3. So this is your starting value. When you once you cover 25% of the values, you reach Q1. Another 25% of the values, you reach Q2 or median, which is 50%. That is your median. Another 25%, 75% is where you reach Q3, and then other 25% will give you Q4 or the last point, right? So Q3 minus Q1 is your IQR. Okay, so you can know all of that. I'll just do this quickly. I think we're running very short of time. Um, okay, so suppose I want to do the analysis. Now there's a very simple function. You want to just do say summary, and you want to do it on loan dollar, sorry, data dollar. What was the column name? Uh, Current loan amount, right? Current dot loan dot amount. Okay, we have not excluded any mode of the data, Akash. See, I can find the mode of this, right? But mode is for a numeric data, mode will not really help, right? For a categorical data, mode will make sense. For a numeric data, mode will not make sense. Mode is nothing but, do you understand mode? Mode is nothing but number of, okay, again, my fault, I should have told that. So mode is the any value, right? For which the frequency is highest, which is occurring maximum number of times, right? That value for which the frequency is highest, which is occurring maximum number of times, that's your mode. Okay. Okay. uh, all right, so you do simple say summary on this data, and when you apply summary, say data current loan, you see you've got a lot of values here. So this is minimum, this is first quartile, median, mean, third quartile, and maximum. Now just by looking at mean and median values, you can say whether the data, what kind of data it is, whether it is normal, whether it is perfectly normal, skewed, not skewed, and stuff, right? So if I look at this data mean and median, for a normal distribution, mean and median will have a value which is pretty close to each other, ideally exactly equal, but if not exactly equal, they'll be pretty close to each other, right? If the data is perfectly normal. This one, the mean seems to be shifted on the right, so the data seems to be positively skewed. Okay, one sec. Okay, so okay, Vasudevan is asking the significance of Q1 and Q3. Uh, so Vasudevan, for that I'll have to explain you the entire variability. Why do you not, use range, and then why do you go to Q1 and Q3, and then why do you take interquartile range? What does it mean? And then from there on, how do you move to variability, standard deviation, and variance, and why they are the best measures of variability, which will take good 30-40 minutes for me to explain. So primarily understand that we use IQR only because outliers impact your output. Outliers can impact your variability of data if you use direct range, and if you change the data point, the variability ideally should change, which many times does not happen when you take only the range or IQR, and hence you try and move on from range to IQR to variability of data, to standard deviation and variance. So again, I said it's a topic which I take about an hour or so to explain in depth in a classroom, and with multiple questions and examples. Here with a limited time, it would be just a touch difficult. Okay. Coming back here, so when you did this summary of explaining you, how do you understand, how do you interpret this, right? So you say this is the mean and this is the median of the data, right? And you've got one Q1, this is Q3, which is Q1 is nothing but where you're hitting 25% of the data. So you had say 100 data points. So Q1 is where you hit, so 25 data points are discarded. That is your Q1. 50th data point is your Q2. 75th data is your Q3, right? You're discarding 25% of data again, and provided you arrange the data in some order. Okay, that is how you'd find median, Q1, Q2, all of that. Okay, now if you have to draw a plot here, say histogram, and you want to draw a histogram for this, Now you see, if I draw, I mean, there can be various other parameters to a histogram, but as I was expecting, it has taken a set of data here. Again, I could change the width of the interval. I could change so many things here, but as I say, it seemed like a positively skewed distribution, which is what I see here, right? If you look at this distribution, this is a positively skewed distribution. This is not really normal. Normal would have been like this, right? But this is a positively skewed. There's a stretch on the positive side. Hence, this is a positively skewed distribution, which was evident to me based on the mean and the median of the data. Okay. All right. I think it's 10:35. What I would want to do is, I'm not sure, how you would want to go ahead with this, but I think it's getting a little late. So would you want to come back on Saturday evening, same time, and continue with this? And we'll do so much more analysis. I think now I'll just have to run through a few things, and you'll not really make a lot of sense. If you want to do a good hands-on this, I would want to do that again on Saturday evening, 9 to 10:30 p.m. How many of you are comfortable with that?
You'll continue with the same thing, right?
Correct.
With the same
correct.
case study.
Correct. So I'll try and take the same case study, and we'll move further on this, because I come here and then I have to stop because it becomes so late generally. How many of you are comfortable with that? I think 4 or 5 of you are saying.
Yes, I'm comfortable.
Quickly, everyone. Okay.
At what time?
Same time, 9 to 10:30 only. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Lot of you.
For me.
Okay. Some of you are not. Sunday. Okay. Saturday or Sunday. Which one is comfortable for you? Saturday is comfortable, right? Okay, many of you are comfortable with Saturday. I think Saturday would be a better option. Again, generally I should not be asking, but I think Saturday seems to be a pretty good option. Many of you are saying you'll be able to get through, and there'll be few new participants. I'll try and spend first 15 minutes again explaining what we did, and then next 1.5 hours we can do so much more analysis on that, and there it'll make so much more sense to you. I hope that makes sense. I mean, if I try and do things now, I think we'll just hurry up and not really. You'll still get the videos, right? You'll get the videos. The recordings I'll be sending out to you. Probably you understand the methodology, right? How I teach, what is the way. And I just don't teach one topic. I'll be doing so many case studies in the classroom. So timing remain the same, 9 to 10:30 p.m. Okay. Okay, those who are not able to come in, do you have any questions? I'll take the questions for now for next 10-15 minutes. Whatever questions you have in data science, I'll be happy to answer that. Okay, how is the book Introduction to Statistical Learning? That is by which author? I think Introduction to Statistics. I'll have to check. ISLR, are you talking of? Okay, that is a wonderful book. Okay, the elements of that and Introduction to Statistical Learning, ISLR, both of them are wonderful book. If you go through those books, if you're able to make a good sense of that book, provided you read the book and do the mathematics, you would really be able to. Okay, no problem. So Vasudhan, there are various things that you can start with, but again, what really happens is you try and okay, I'll probably have to check, give you a mailer where I'll tell you, okay, these are the 10 things that you can look at. But I've told you in terms of skill set, you need to know basic stats. Okay, both are good enough, right? I don't think you can differentiate between R or Python. So okay, one sec. No, one question at a time. A lot of questions coming up. So if you look at the book ISLR is pretty good. In terms of skill sets, you need to know Tableau, Excel, SQL, and data modeling, right? Within data modeling, you need to know statistics, ML, R, inferential basic statistics, and ML, again in depth. And then on top of it, you also need to know at least one tool. It could be R or Python or both. I would suggest you try and learn both. Start with one and then go on to the other one. Don't try and do both the things parallelly. Would not really help. Okay. In terms of market today, I think R still is one of the best tools in the market. But Python is again, almost neck to neck now, and you have both the tools growing every day. So you have enough opportunities both in R and Python, uh, and and then uh, you'll be able to get a good job. So I would expect you to work with both the things. Okay, so I mean, if you're really trying to get your hands dirty, I would say uh, start with one tool and get to the other tool, right? The okay, one sec at a time, one question at a time. Okay, to work in learning material again, I can drop you a mail. I told you these are the things that you can work with. Which one is best for ML, R or Python? Again, as I said, both of them. Uh, Again, for very big data analytics, people say Python is a touch better, but again, that is very subjective, and there's no clear answer to it, right? Now, next question is Kush Amrendra. What is your question? Not sure. Uh, no, I'll not be
No,
able to give.
I'm into.
Okay, I'll not be able to give you personal time. I really don't have time. I'm doing this session
uh,
for again free of cost for everyone, so I don't have time one on one for anyone, at least now, because my students, I have more than 250 students with me. I have to take care of them as well, so I really won't be able to give you time on that. Uh, how usually the work will be in real-time scenario. So real-time scenario work also seems pretty similar. You have a lot of data which is coming in. You start with the business problem, understand the business problem, go ahead and do cleanse the data. And once you're good with that, you do the analysis of the data, and then you do ML. So it's more, I mean, real-time scenario also, I'll give you a lot of cases if you join the course later on. I do real-time case studies. All my coaching is through, or whatever I'm trying to train you is on real time data. So this data is also almost real time, and I have 20 lakh rows here. So when you work with 20 lakh rows and try and find some model that would be a good enough model, you'll be able to do so much more with that. And this just one simple case. I'll do at least 15-20 case, and after the course also I give you a lot of cases to work with. So those are again real time cases that I give you. uh, which one is the top player in data analytics, Python or, again, as I said, that is subjective. Is it not optimized for production, right? R is not optimized see, they say that, right? Not really always. They say that, okay, implementation of Python is a touch easier, but I never really found that way. Both were pretty good, and both could be used. As fresher, how do you get jobs? So again, you'll have to build up a profile. You'll have to say data analytics, and again, through our network. I mean, okay, I don't know if I introduce myself. So my name is Kushagra Singhania. I'm an IT Delhi graduate with about 10 years experience in the industry, and I've worked in predictive analytics for about 7 to 8 years. So I carry that kind of an experience, and with the kind of network that we have, we try and help you with a lot of referral networks and connects, and through that you try and so we'll help you build your profile, we'll help you do a lot of cases, so that you just don't go out there and say, I know data, I mean, I've done a course on data science. You actually solve a lot of problems, and you're able to talk about those projects in the interview. That is how you build a profile, and through that you'll get a job. Nobody will give you a job just because you know bits and pieces of data science. Bear that in mind very clearly. I've done a lot of recruiting for data scientist as role, and hence I'm able to say that very clearly. uh, okay, another question I have is, okay, Python can be used for all the things, right? R is only used for a statistical. Okay. R is only used for statistical analysis. Python can be used for, so Python, I mean, if you look at Python as a tool, it can be used for just about anything, right? Python can be used as a programming language, is used for multiple things. But if you look at only R has always been a statistical or computational tool. And when you work with R, you'll be able to not just learn basic things, you'll be able to, I mean, you'll primarily be doing statistics and the visualization part of it. So R has always been doing that, whereas Python or any other language is a full-on programming language. uh, so Ravi, my email ID is kushagra@dimensionless.in. I'll just show that to you, or you can drop me a mail at info@dimensionless.in. This is how the course coverage is. I really did not talk about it. I'll send you the course details, what I cover, how I cover, and stuff, and why I do that, and why is this stuff, labs and online everything, live session. I did not talk about it. You can drop me a mailer at info@dimensionless or kushag@dimensionless. So the ID would be this, kushag@dimensionless.in. Sorry, in. Correct that. One question. Okay, Ritvik. Ritvik, I think I've answered your question. Can we use R except data science? As Python is also used in web development, can we use R except data science? The question was, can we use R for other things other than data science? Is that the question, right? So I think I've answered your query there. Okay, as I said, I don't help you one-on-one. Can you give me some link on any online material on R? So there are a lot of materials you can easily find, online books on R. If you just Google good books on R, you'll be able to get so many things out there. What I would suggest is start with say this. Okay, what is the name of the book? R programming. The art of R programming. That is a very good book. You can start with that book. Uh, uh, okay, we'll require a high-end machine learning process. That amount of will that require a high-end machine to process that? No. So see, when you're trying to work with analytics is not something which is. The question is, do you really require a very high, a high amount? Your machine has to be of a very high configuration, like 12 GB or 14, 20 GB RAM. So that will be required when you work with very large sets of data. When you're trying to get into analytics, I would not suggest you to go into big data analytics on day one. Excuse me. So what really you need to do, you need to take a set of data, work with, understand the algorithms, how do they work, what do they do, how do they do that, and what kind of challenges you face. Because when you work with ML, it's not that, again, a lot of people are still focusing on the tool, right? So don't just focus on the tool, focus on the ML part. That is something which is very critical. It's not that you've run a model and you've run the algorithm, you're good, right? For example, I'll give you one quick example here. Netflix had come up with a very with a case study long back in 2007 or 2006, I think, where they gave a problem that they were using some kind of recommendation engine. They wanted people to improve their recommendation engine by 10%. So people were able to get to 8-9% in 8% or 9%, I think, in a month. And then it took them about 3 to 4 years to get to that 10%. From 9 to 10% to improve that 1% is where the challenge lies. So if you really want to build good models, it will take you months. It's not happening in one day, right? You need to understand so many things about it, and the more you practice, the more kind of data that you work with, the better you will get at it, right? So don't worry that, okay, writing a code in R will be only three lines thing, right? But what do you make out of it? How do you improve upon the accuracy of the model? That's where the biggest challenge would lie. Okay, so don't start with a very deep and very high-end machine for now. When you do big data analytics, I'll tell you how exactly you need to figure out that. So you can easily have very easy access to labs, which will allow you that without really paying a lot of money. So at a very minimal cost, you'll be able to do that. For now, I'm closing the session. Obviously, it is 11:15. So no, 20 lakh records, you really don't need a very large machine. You'll be able to do that. So it has to be amount of data that you're processing. So 20 lakh records is somewhere around, I think, 200 MB, which can easily be processed on my machine. We teach Python also. There's a course which is the course that I offer is data science with R and Python, data science with R and data science with Python. So 3 different courses is what we offer. And again, there's a course on big data analytics. There's a course on natural language processing, because each of that is a separate topic. So if I just teach you text mining or NLP, I can teach that you for 50-60 hours alone, because that there's so much to do in that, right? It's not just okay, it's a 2-hour job that you do text mining, you're done. So I teach machine learning. If I have to teach you machine learning, I'll teach machine learning for 50-60 hours, right? Because that much time is required for you to understand the algorithms well, to be able to solve those algorithms well. If you do it in 20 hours, it'll just you'll know some of it, you'll feel you know it, but you really don't know anything. So that kind of a situation will come up. So to go deeper into that, you need to solve a lot of cases, which is what we really focus on. uh, um, okay, I mean, when I learn, no, not really. I don't think you need that, Vishesh. Vasudevan, sorry. What are top 5 packages an ML engineer should know? uh, Okay, I can drop a mailer on that, Saurabh. The various packages. So when you say machine learning, you're not really an engineer, you're a data scientist. If you know machine, if you're doing a big data engineering, that's a very different thing, right? But in terms of R, I mean, generally use a lot of packages for data cleansing, data preparation, and specific packages for specific statistical analysis, right? So generally use stats package has a lot of things, but on top of it, you need to know, as I said, NLP has so many packages. So text mining, you have so many packages that you need to work with. So each of that you need to know, right? So again, there can be a list which can be from top 5. Again, it's very difficult to say that, but most of the packages are pretty important, right? dplyr, uh, for manipulation, you use pretty handy, and the data table is something which is very handy, and the mice is pretty handy. There's so many things, right? It's very difficult to give you the only 5 there. Then I've completed an R course. How much of statistics you know, that so the more case study you work with, the better will be get. Hands-on session link, no problems. All right, any other questions? So I think whatever questions were there, I've tried to answer that. All of you who are willing to attend the session again on Saturday, I'll be sending out again the link, new link for the session. Um, uh, you can join us through that, and we'll try and do bivariate analysis on this data and try and take it further. And hopefully, if you're willing, if you want to learn more, we can do so much more if you are doing the course with us. So there, I mean, in an hour or two, it's not really possible. My duration for the training is about 150 hours. So I need to take you from the very scratch, and up to very high level of data science, and that would require good amount of time and patience. Okay. All right, guys, any other question anybody has? I'm not free. I told you, Amrin, I'll not be able to speak to you one on one.
You'll be sending the meeting link, just like the meeting link we got for today's session, right?
Correct. Okay, so the cost for the course is again varies from, so if you do both R and Python, it is about 35K. And if you do only one tool, it's about 28K. So I mean, there's some kind of variation in there. So that can be, we'll certainly be dropping you a mailer with the details and everything, and the when we teach, what are the timings and everything, we'll be informing you about that through a mailer again, so you can always have that handy with you. Okay. All right. So, but focus has to be on real time learning. It should not be a superficial learning that you have. Make sure wherever you learn, not just with me. In general, I'm talking. If you're also trying to learn on your own, uh, spend good 6, 8, 10 months, and go deeper into data science. That is where your value would be. If you know only the superficial stuff, uh, you would not really be able to do much. So we based out of Pune and Mumbai. We're not based out of Bangalore. So we don't have a branch or center there. We don't operate on classroom trainings. We uh, um, we don't do classroom trainings. We only do online trainings. And again, the only reason being, I want to have a session where I'm able to talk to individuals, because of some of my consulting assignments. I need to travel at times here and there, but generally it does not happen that I miss my class. So all classes will happen always, irrespective of wherever I'm traveling, right? So that is why one of the reasons I want to make sure that all best faculties are available to you from across India, and they're able to teach you, right? In a center, it becomes very difficult to give you that kind of a facility, that kind of a feel. No, I think we're good. So really appreciate, guys, thank you for being here. uh, Hopefully you had a bit of understanding of R, and mostly you'd be able to get to the next level of this when you do this on Saturday, and probably post that we can talk about the course and other stuff and other questions that you might have. I'll try and answer them there. Okay. uh, Fair enough, guys. Logging off now. Thank you. Bye.